Welcome everyone to today's top rated seller webinar. Today's webinar is part of a monthly series of webinars specifically geared to eBay sellers and brought to you at absolutely no cost. I do love that word free by our wonderful sponsors. Thank you all for coming today. Our next webinar is going to be in August, but we have surprises coming for you guys. The topic and the time is to be announced. So make sure you're signed up for our top rated seller webinars newsletter and you'll get the first information about what that topic is and when. You can sign up there at topratedsellerwebinars.com. Which reminds me, you guys need to stay connected. We would really like to stay connected with all of our friends, and please spread the word about these free webinar series. We want to educate eBay sellers and help them all do better and make more money. Best way to stay connected is through our blog at topratedsellerwebinars.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, the Top Rated Seller Webinars newsletter. We also have a fairly active Facebook group. Just search for Top Rated Seller Webinars on Facebook and join us for a great discussion. Last week, we had a discussion going about dish your listings, where everybody posted their eBay listings and everyone on the board chimed in and gave them suggestions to improve them. So join our active Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. Just a little bit of housekeeping now. The first question everybody has is, are you recording this webinar? And I can tell you that it's being recorded about 7 different places. So if one of them doesn't come out right, we've got backup. Yes, it is being recorded, and it'll be on the Top Rated Seller Webinars YouTube channel within 24 to 48 hours. The presentation slides, Matt and Ryan, if you'll agree, I'm sure they wouldn't mind sharing a PDF of their slides later, and we'll add that to the website also. If you're having audio problems, which you saw as we get started out are very common, the first suggestion is if you're on the phone and you're trying to get a better line, just hang up and call back in. Sometimes the line you got is just not the best. If you're on the computer and the sound is coming and going and you're missing too much, the best suggestion we have for you is ignore the computer and call in on the phone. You can still watch the webinar with your computer, but having the sound on the phone might make it easier for you. So one more thing to talk about before we let the guys get started are connectors. These webinars are hosted and connected with the people by Kat Simpson, that's me, of thatcat.com, and Karen Locker. You'll meet her during the Q&A session, and she runs Solutions for E-commerce. Catch up with both of us at those 2 websites. Now, who's bringing you these great webinars? That would be our wonderful sponsors. And our sponsors are Billboards by PageMage. Make your eBay listings stand out to sell out. Brand your listings, advertise special offers, cross-sell items, and more across all of your listings. Billboards is one of the top 10 most popular application in the eBay App Center, and it's completely free. Told you I love that free word. Here's another thing you can get for free, stamps.com. If you're selling online through multiple sales channels, shipping can be a headache, but not if you have stamps.com. Stamps.com consolidates all of your orders so you can ship them out with ease. With one click, you can directly import all of your order data from the most popular online marketplaces, including eBay, Amazon, PayPal, Etsy, and all other shopping cart software. Our other sponsors include Outright, putting your accounting on autopilot. And for those of you keeping up with the news, on our next slide, you'll see the Outright logo, but you won't see the information that they were recently acquired by GoDaddy. So Outright, check out their blog, outright.com/blog. Outright is a wonderful accounting software that helps you pull together your sales and expense data from all across your various accounts, organizes your finances in one place, and what's that word I told you I liked? Yep, it's free. Our next sponsor is Terapeak, who is actually putting on the webinar today. We're excited to announce Terapeakers make more money. And isn't that the bottom line for all of us? Price your items for maximum profit, track your competition on eBay, and find new selling products with Terapeak. And last but not least, our other sponsor is eBay Radio, where you've got the griff. Stay informed and stay in touch with eBay Radio every Thursday and Tuesday afternoons. You can find them on eBay. Look in the community groups for eBay Radio. And now I think we're ready for our, as they say, feature presentation. Hi, Matt and Ryan.
Thanks a lot. That was a great introduction.
You
So we
deserve
are
it.
Terapeak. So we are Terapeak. Terapeak helps eBay sellers become more profitable by providing essential information and analytical data that answers a few basic questions like, what are my items worth? What items should I sell on eBay? How should I price each item to maximize my profits? When listing each item, which tactics should I use to make more money? So we're going to talk about 5 fast fixes. So you can use Terapeak research to help you optimize the details of your listing, the item price, the product line, the title keywords, and help you to attract lots of traffic. So when we talk about optimizing listing details, we mean the formatting of your listing. There's a lot of different things to choose when you're building your listing, and some of those choices are I find them a little counterintuitive. Nothing against the way it's structured or anything, but sometimes I don't know what category I should list in or when I should end my auction. And so this is one of the things that we can help you to do more effectively if you use Terapeak research.
So here we're doing research on a classic Milton Bradley electronic game called Simon. As we can see here, there is a category for Bop It and Simon specifically, but because this is a more retro version of the game I'm researching, it is more successful being listed in the vintage pre-90s subcategory. Further research beyond this, we discovered that the sell-through rate in the vintage category is almost double that of the Simon/Bop It category. And there's also less competition in that category by about 90 listings per week and a $2 higher average price. So by listing in the right category, not only can you reduce your competition, you can also improve your sell-through rate quite dramatically in this case.
Yeah, and it was interesting because sometimes when you're listing things on eBay, there's only one category you can list it in, but this type of product actually has enough flexibility in what category you can list it in that you do have to make a challenging decision about what category you're going to choose. And by running separate product searches in each category, we could see some distinct differences in how the listings performed in each of those categories.
So next we're looking at when should you end the auction. So continuing with researching the Simon game, Sunday appears to be the best day of the week to have the item ending. It has the highest sell-through rate. It doesn't seem to sell better at any particular time of the day, except between 9 and 10. One interesting thing we discovered in researching this product, though, is how much more one-day listings sell for. So you'll see in the graph there on the right-hand side that listings with a one-day listing time sell for significantly higher than a 10-day listing. So what this is showing us that buyers, by forcing the buyer to commit to it quicker, you're driving up the ultimate sell price.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting dynamic because I often hear an expectation that listings that run for longer durations, the expectation is that they'll perform better because they're around longer, you can get more views, there's going to be more shoppers that have a chance to visit the listing in, say, a week than over one day. But for some products, and not all products, but some products, that short duration really makes buyers react with like a sense of urgency, and so you'll see shoppers sort of bite on the listing and commit to the sale more aggressively on a shorter duration for some products than they would if it was just sort of they were able to set it as one of their watched items and maybe think about it some more. So in this particular product, we see that the longer it runs for, the less money it's probably going to sell for. And so that's a really important optimization that we can help with, which is to show that a shorter duration for these auction-style listings is probably going to be the best-selling strategy for this, at least based on price.
Wow.
Now, I noticed that we have a question of...
Yes.
I noticed that we have a question about time zones, and that's correct. We do display the time zone in Pacific time by default. That's eBay official time. Now, you can set your own time zone in Terapeak by visiting the Preferences page. There's a cog-shaped icon at the top of the page where you can set some preferences both for currency and for time zone. So you can customize the statistics to match whatever suits where you are. Yeah, so that's that interesting finding for duration. I love it when I see a chart like this because it really clearly shows like what's going on with the shopper mentality as they're shopping for this item. So optimizing item price. Terapeak takes the guesswork out of pricing by answering, what is this thing worth? What price do I start my auction at? What price do I use buy it now or in my store?
All right. So here I'm researching a vintage hot dog steamer from 1978 produced by the Sunbeam Company.
I love this item, by the way. I think this is the most unusual looking like vintage cooking item I've ever seen.
But being a big fan of single-use appliances, this is right up my alley. So let's say we want to auction this vintage kitchen appliance off. Terapeak shows us that $12.74 is the average start price. I would probably round up and go with $12.99 or maybe $14.99. This number isn't set in stone. It's just meant to provide you with a good starting point when choosing an opening price for your auction, because often a lot of people are not sure where to start things, so this gives you the average of where other people are starting their auction for this item.
It's interesting to see that those auctions are starting at $12.74, but the two highest priced ones are going all the way up to like the mid-80s for their price. So that's a lot of bid activity there.
A lot of bid activity on these guys.
That's a very entertaining item.
Okay, so now maybe we want to, instead of doing an auction, we want to do buy it now. You're wanting to just do a fixed price or put it in your store. So what we do is, in this case, look at the listings view in product research, and that'll help you establish the kind of the end value of the item. This view shows all the listings that make up the data on the previous slide. This lets you look at the most successful listings and see how your item compares and then price accordingly. This lets you price your item at the optimum price without leaving money on the table by comparing what others of similar quality have actually sold for.
And this view is also a good example of the next question that we got in, which is how can you tell how many results the statistics are based on? So in this view, you can actually view all of the individual listing results that were found by the search. And it says right up at the top that there were 29 listings that were found that matched this search criteria. And although we don't have all 29 pictured in our example, there are little like next page options at the bottom of this view where you can look at the subsequent pages and see all 29 items. So next, we're going to talk about expanding your product lines. So finding new products can be very challenging, and we hope to help out with that process by making it a little bit easier to find new product ideas by spotting trends, what's hot right now, who's selling cooler stuff than me. I love this topic because there's a lot of very eccentric categories of products on eBay, and from time to time, those products will show up in our hot categories report, and we'll see just like sort of unexpected popular trends in the most unusual sounding categories.
So after looking through hot research, we found an up-and-coming category that Matt and myself both found kind of interesting. It is collectibles Breweriana pre-prohibition collectibles. So looking through hot research section of Terapeak, we found that pre-prohibition Breweriana collectibles are increasing in popularity. This graph shows there is no seasonality to the category, but there's a lot of activity in the category. For example, this past Christmas being the highest amount of sales in the last 2 years in this category. So with that being said, there's a lot of activity in this category, so this could be potentially a good category to start selling into.
Yeah, and I was speculating that maybe the interest for this kind of product was recently boosted by the fact that there's TV programs like Boardwalk Empire that focus on the Prohibition era, and so little things like that on TV and in the news and stuff like that will boost interest suddenly in some rather obscure categories, and so that might be why we're seeing a bit more activity for what's sort of probably a fairly like little known category. And I also wanted to point out that on a weekly basis, this category is doing up to $12,000 in sales. So that's a lot of purchases that are going on each week. That's worth somebody's time to try to source stuff like this.
Okay, so we can dig deeper into a hot category by using the competitor research tool, and we can see what products the biggest and most successful sellers are selling. So we went into the category, we looked through the top sellers and picked one of them out, and then here we can see what his top items are. So you can see exactly what this individual eBay seller is selling into this category, and then it gives you an idea of what kind of stuff to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting because there was advertising materials and there was stuff related to like soda fountains and just all like beer kegs and just like all sorts of sort of ordinary commonplace items that you know, there's a collector out there for some of these things. And in this particular view, we help you to understand which items are actually worth your time to try to seek out or to source, because we're ranking this by sales. So all of the items are in order of what's sold for the most money or it's generated the most sales. Now, definitely in a category like this, there's going to be a lot of one-off products because we're dealing with antiques. You know, they're not necessarily going to find like a big batch of each product. But in categories that have newer items, you might also see that these results are going to group together like listings for the same item. So you can see both what is sold for a lot of money and what's garnered multiple sales. So what's maybe going to sell over and over and over again. But yeah, this is a fascinating category. I love looking at collectible stuff like this. Now I see we have another question about whether or not there's a mobile app for Terapeak. We do indeed have a mobile app. It's in the iTunes store. If you search for Terapeak, you'll find that there's an application called the Terapeak Research Subscriber Edition. It does require an ongoing subscription through our main site, but the app itself is free, so you're welcome to download that if you're already a Terapeak subscriber. Thanks a lot for that question. So moving on to our next slide, we're going to talk about choosing the best keywords. So Terapeak answers, so one of the most popular questions we get in support is, how can you build an effective title? How do I title my listings to win at Best Match? Now, a title is crucial for attracting traffic, and you know, some people are really good at choosing keywords. You know, they just have like an instinct about what keywords they should use in their titles. Other people, you know, struggle with it a little bit more. But I find, like, in general, what's best is to think about what is your shopper going to be looking for? How are they going to describe this item? What kinds of keywords are they typing into the search engine? We actually have some research that we can put behind this to help out with this process. So this is what our one of our hot research tools looks like. This is a report on the most popular search terms on eBay. So what did we search for here?
So here we're going back to and researching the Simon game from the earlier slides, just to see what what people are searching for when they're looking for when they want to buy this Simon game. What are they searching for? And what we found was that the best title based on the results here, so looking through what people are actually searching for, would probably be Milton Bradley Simon Electronic Game 1978 Vintage with Box. Now, one thing that surprised both myself and Matt was that the year that the product was released is actually quite significant. It's 7th in the list. So if you're listing this game without the year in the title, there's a good chance you'd be missing out on a lot of traffic coming for this item.
I was kind of surprised by what the results were like for this list. First of all, I was surprised that people were interested in a specific year for the manufacturing of this game. You know, it seems like a product that's been, you know, readily available for a long time. So, you know, targeting us, you know, it's not a bottle of wine, you know, like. But you know, that was the 7th most popular search according to eBay's search data. I was also impressed that people were searching for the brand. I off the top of my head, I didn't know the brand of Simon. So results like this are very interesting because my instinct would maybe be not to include the brand, Milton Bradley, in the title. That's just me. So that's where research can really help, because that's an extra audience that I was probably going to miss out on, and those are the people that are now going to be searching for these keywords and finding this listing. So yeah, every time I look at what the search results are like in hot searches, it's always interesting to see just what it is that people are looking for. Sometimes you have people shopping for gifts for somebody else, and they use keywords that you wouldn't expect a collector to use. Sometimes you have, people that are relative experts on the product searching for details that are really specific. And so that's where this search data can be really telling. So, increasing traffic. By taking the examples in the last slide and putting them to good use in the title, we can help you to build better titles that are going to attract more traffic to your listing. How do people buy the item I'm selling? What are the top search keywords? That's so important because, if you're not using keywords that people are searching for, then your item's not getting seen, you're not getting those impressions, and ultimately you have fewer chances to try to convert what shoppers you do attract to a sale. So our last slide is about signing up for a free trial. We do offer a 7-day free trial for our service. We hope that you've found a lot of benefit in the review that we've done of some of the best features of Terapeak. And yeah, sign up today and start making more money on your listings. Did you have anything else to add?
Nope, I think we're open for questions now.
Awesome. Yeah, I did see a couple more questions. So there was a question about whether or not we have an Android app. We don't currently offer an Android app, but we are monitoring demand for this, and our product manager is very much interested in whether or not an Android app would be right for Terapeak. So if you are interested in a version of the Terapeak app for Android, the best thing to do is to contact our support team, and then we can add that to our tracking. So I really appreciate that suggestion. Let's see.
You guys did great. We got questions all over the place. What a great presentation.
I know. Well, it's there's so much information in Terapeak, and so it leads to so much discussion about what it is that we can reference and how to make those suggestions actionable and things like that. So I see there's a question about whether or not our suggestions are updated in terms with algorithm changes at eBay. So the hot searches report is actually just a straight up list of what's the most popular keywords searched for by eBay shoppers. It's not really a suggestion based on like best match customization. So we don't really have to change the results in that list on an ongoing basis. It's a good starting point for how you're going to structure your titles, because including those keywords is going to attract shoppers that search for those keywords, and that's a really positive thing for the traffic for your listing. We also have a question about keywords in the title. Do they have to be in order of most popular, or the words simply have to be in the title? I believe that the way that the search engine on eBay works is very flexible. The order is not significant. Unless somebody was searching for, say, like there are advanced commands to search for an exact match for a string of keywords. But I think that's probably a rarely used search command. So unless you're listing something like a title like Lord of the Rings, where the order of those keywords definitely has a different meaning if they were not in the right order, I think that you have some flexibility there to search for.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
I hate to ask you to comment on Google too, but what I've heard from people when they talk about how, this search word should be at the beginning and all that, they talk about how Google only searches a certain number of characters. The titles are up to 80 characters now on eBay, and they're saying, oh, well, Google doesn't search all 80, so you should make sure your important keywords are in the front. Do you know is there any credence to that?
That's interesting. I've never had that asked of me. I would say that it's probably a good idea to err on the side of caution. I tend to put my most significant keywords towards the front unless I have a really good reason to put it in a different order. I think the kind of I don't want to make it sound negative, but I think the average person's attention span is kind of focused at the front of the sentence, Yeah. So you want to put those keywords up at the front where they're going to be aesthetically and visually, they're going to stand out the most.
There. Yeah. Well, Karen, we've got Karen here, and she's got a whole list of all the questions, so you don't have to keep scrolling back and trying to make sure you got them all. So bring Karen on. You guys are great, though. We're sitting here going, okay, how do we get these questions to them? And then you guys just go off and get them. You're awesome. So you must have been doing this a few times, huh? As a team.
Yeah, I've done quite a few webinars, so I'm kind of used to keeping an eye on the questions as they come in. Well, I like to kind of jump back and forth.
Yeah, it keeps people's attention, and you've got some great people really asking. Of course, we can't quote all of them, but there's about 5 or 6 people in here going, I can't run my business without Terapeak. It's a wonderful app. So it's kind of nice to have those feedbacks every once in a while, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. All right, Karen, you got our list for us?
I've got a list. I do have a list. One of the first questions that I want to take care of is someone wanted to know if the slides they were seeing were actual screenshots from Terapeak.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It was data that we ran this week. We wanted to make sure that it was nice and fresh and current. I don't like to use screenshots that, where the data is getting kind of old, because we want people to be able to log into Terapeak and go and run research just like this and see the same kinds of results that we just saw. So, yeah, these are absolutely real, I won't say live because it is based on some of the listings are completed, but it is recent eBay listing information.
Okay. And then another question somebody had is they have Terapeak, but their icons don't look like yours, and they don't have a magnifying glass like you did. So.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple of versions of Terapeak. If you're subscribing on the eBay App Center, your look and feel is going to be a little bit different. For that one person or anybody else that has differences in the look and feel, I'd welcome them to contact our support team, and we can maybe go over the differences in how our product works in different sign-up channels. It's definitely the case that we have a couple of different versions of Terapeak out there, but they're all based on the same brain power. They're analyzing the same listings, and they have many of the same features, and so they're definitely both very effective. There's just slightly different aesthetics to the buttons.
All right. I'm going to go all the way back to the very beginning. You may have covered this one. I'm not positive. Where does it show the number of results the info is based on? And because smaller numbers of results can skew the info. Back when you showed the first slide.
For sure, yeah. This is a really important detail because I think people should always be aware of how large the sample is that they're looking at, and so we show the number of results. And I'm just going to back up to the slide so I can show you where.
That's great. That's great. Having people see it makes it so much easier.
Yeah. So when you run a search, this is called the overview, and right here near the top of the results, there's a box called listings. And listings is going to tell you how many individual unique listings the search found. And then on each of the widgets, depending on what kind of view you have, it's going to tell you how many results the results are based on. Now, we don't, because this is a screenshot, I can't adjust this very easily, but right down here where it says listing promotions, this tells you the number of listings that the results are based on. So, for instance, not very many listings were using picture services or scheduled, but quite a lot of them were using no features whatsoever or buy it now. So each of the widgets can be toggled to show you just how large a sample it's basing that statistic or that recommendation on. And absolutely, I mean, larger samples are more reliable. They're more statistically relevant. But the reality is, if you're looking for something that's quite rare, you're just happy to find something that matches your search. So a lot of people will base their research on just a few completed listings if they're searching for something that's an antique or a fairly rare collectible, and that's just what's available. So it's certainly better than nothing. But if you do have the benefit of looking at a very large sample of listings, that's even better.
Great explanation.
Mhm.
The next question is, how is Terapeak of value to those who sell depth of inventory and use fixed price?
Well, we reference all types of listings, whether they're fixed price or auction. The statistics for, the number of items sold per listing, the number of competing sellers with similar products, how much bid activity is going on, trends in asking price. Those are all very, very important for somebody who's got a lot of inventory. You definitely want to be aware of whether or not your product's starting to slow down, or if you need to make adjustments to how it's sold or what it's selling for, things like that. Even finding out whether or not there's a better way to list it. Some people need to flip back and forth between formats, or change categories, or build a better title. All these things are really useful to somebody, even if they're using a fixed price. So we feel that Terapeak's really useful to everybody selling on eBay, regardless of what format they're using, because at the core of it, it's about understanding not just your business, but also how your business relates to the rest of the marketplace, and how this product is performing on eBay.
Excellent.
Okay, the next question, and this is one that lots of people would love to know the answer to. Is there a way to search for a specific item sold by a specific seller?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the product research section, you can run a search for a keyword for a product. And if you click on the Show Products filter, which I don't think we have a screenshot of, but it is there, there's an option called Show Products Filter. There is an option to search by seller ID. So it'll run the search for the keyword, but the only results that it'll return are the ones that belong to that specific eBay seller. So that's really useful for finding your own listings. If you're really active and you have a lot of listing data, it's good for breaking out specific products out of your inventory to see how they're performing. And it's also really useful for finding, examples in your competitors' listing data. So.
There's also ways to look by seller in the different categories too, isn't there?
Yeah, so it depends on what you want to see, but if you are just curious about who's listing in a category, you can use the top sellers view in the category research tab, and it's going to take all of the sales activity from the recent sales period. I think the adjustable date range goes from 1 to 30 days. And it's going to rank all of the sellers by how much sales activity they have in that category. And then that will help you to either gauge, what your performance is like compared against your peers. It'll also help if, like in our case, when we were looking at the Breweriana collectibles, we were just curious about, who is a seller that's active in this category that has some interesting items. So we were more focused on, just finding interesting products that are popular in that category, and we went about it by looking at sellers.
Oh, that was a great find, that Breweriana stuff. Looks like Tavern Trove was the keyword that mattered there.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I think that was maybe the name of the seller. Actually, they were putting their eBay username in their listing title, which was really interesting. I've never seen that technique before, and we were both actually asking ourselves, like, sort of like what the effect is, because my original recommendation is that you want to think about what what shoppers are searching for. So I was wondering if that seller had such a reputation that their shoppers were maybe looking for, their items based on just like the name of their eBay store. So it was an interesting technique. I haven't seen that before.
That was cool.
So the next question we have is, does Terapeak help you decide between how to list an item, whether auction or buy it now?
Oh, definitely. Well, we offer analysis of both of those formats separately. So you can run a filtered search for just auction. You can run a filtered search for just fixed price. And then you can compare the results to see which selling strategy is going to work for yourself. It's definitely a good idea, too, to take into consideration how established you are as a seller. In my opinion, not everybody can sell super effectively with fixed price, especially if you're not very established and you don't have previous sales on that type of item. You're not necessarily going to get the most effective best match placement. So you want to think about how competitive your price is, whether or not you have previous sales, and also just like what do you want to get out of the sale, because sometimes when you're listing something that has a sort of variable price based on collector demand, it's very exciting and potentially very lucrative to go with the auction style listing. Using the fixed price listing has benefits because your shoppers know what price to expect when they're shopping. It's not sort of an unknown, and that confidence in what the product costs can definitely be a benefit for the shopper experience. So it's definitely something that I encourage people to weigh, both from a statistical standpoint using Terapeak and also considering, what are your needs in your eBay business. What kinds of items are you listing, and how do you expect shoppers are going to react to that? There's certainly a difference between the kinds of products that sell really effectively with a fixed price versus the products that sell really effectively with an auction style. So it's definitely something you can look up in Terapeak. We have a couple of ways to do it. There is even a widget on each product research report that shows the exact breakdown of how many listings were in each format and what their statistics are like. So you can compare price and sell-through rate and things like that.
I still like the slide best that says, "Who's selling cooler stuff than me?" That's just me.
It always seems like somebody's selling cooler stuff than me.
I love the way you titled that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always get lost in the research, too, because there's so much fun stuff to look at and find out and see what you should be watching for on your next hunting expedition.
Absolutely.
I think you covered this one before, but it's an important one, so I figured I'd bring it again. Have you updated your suggestions in line with the new algorithm changes to the eBay search?
Sure. So as I was saying before, the type of research we provide on how you want to structure your title is based entirely on popular search terms. And those popular search terms, they definitely shift on a regular basis, but they're not dependent on what type of algorithm they use in the best match search on eBay. So my opinion about that is that there isn't really a need for adjustment because of the type of data that we're providing on that, which is what are the keywords that are most popular as used by shoppers. Now, when it comes to the tricky topic of synonyms, I think it's not necessarily I don't think you necessarily have to anticipate all the different kinds of synonyms that will be accepted by Best Match. Certainly, if you know that people are searching for Simon, Milton, Bradley, those are keywords that are dependable. And if other keywords are also accepted in Best Match as synonyms for that, well, that's great. That's a bonus. But using the ones that are most popular is well, in my opinion, I think that's probably the safest bet to use because the synonym process is very complicated. So yeah, to just sort of clarify on that topic, we don't really offer an analysis of Best Match, so we don't really have to be concerned too much with shifts in that algorithm. You still want to be aware of how the algorithm affects your listings, but not necessarily it doesn't necessarily concern the type of research you're doing in Terapeak for your title.
Great.
Okay. Now we have a couple of questions on different countries. Is there a search option for listing country?
If you're subscribing to Terapeak International and you have multiple eBay sites feeding into your research, then absolutely. There are some additional options that allow you to search both by the buyer's location and by the seller's location, at least by the country of the buyer and the seller. That's as granular as that particular detail gets. So that can be really useful if, for instance, you want to know how many Canadians bought Simon from U.S. sellers. We're based in Canada, so I'm always interested in what the breakdown is for how many Canadians are in the mix versus U.S. shoppers. And there's also a report in Terapeak that will help to describe what some of the pricing advantages are in each country. So some products sell for a much higher price in Australia or in Germany because there's less availability for some of those products, and so shoppers there are willing to pay a bit extra to get specific items. So our international report, which highlights those differences in pricing and demand, is very useful to sellers that are either already selling internationally or considering extending their delivery range outside of their domestic market. And so, yeah, but like I said, that option is specifically available when you're subscribing to our international plan. So if you just have the domestic plan, then you may want to contact our support team so we can talk to you about the benefits of upgrading.
And you kind of addressed a lot of this next question, but is it an effective tool for sellers in Canada or other countries, and does it matter?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we have Terapeak users all around the world. We've got Terapeak users in countries that don't even have dedicated eBay sites. There's a lot of benefit to knowing this information about the viability of different products and pricing and all that kind of stuff, regardless of where you're located. And I think particularly, like myself, being a Canadian eBay seller, I think it's really useful to see the differences in the statistics between the two markets, between the U.S. and Canada, because a lot of the time my buyers are located in the U.S., so I want to be aware of what the expectations are for shipping rates and for pricing and all that kind of stuff, rather than just trying to guess. So
Always better not to guess.
yeah.
But guessing makes life fun.
Oh, it can.
All right, another question we have is, the person was not very clear on how to determine a buy it now price during your hot dog, when you were talking about the hot dogs. Can you cover the buy it now again?
Sure.
How
So
yeah,
we didn't take screenshots of the entire process, but we ran a couple of searches for that product and compared the pricing for the auction and for the buy it now. And then what Ryan was using to establish his expectation for what the start price was this is actually the slide we're looking at right now, is the average start price for those items was $12.74, but that start price and end price are only different when you're using an auction style listing. So if you're looking to build a fixed price listing for this item, you'll probably want to take a look at, there's a widget in this that will tell you what other fixed price listings have sold for this item, and it will give you an average price for that specific part of the sample. And you also want to just take into consideration, that the high here was up in the 85 area. The average was down at 34. So somewhere in that range is where you're targeting for your fixed price. You may not necessarily want to target like the very ceiling for it, but by comparing what it has sold for in fixed price and how many times, you can get an expectation for what is a reasonable price to expect for that fixed price.
All right. We have a whole lot of questions about the new free shipping, shipping costs, and things like that. The first one is, does Terapeak take into account shipping costs for auctions or if an auction had free shipping?
So we do offer an average shipping rate on the product research results page. That's shown in this screenshot as well. Because it takes a while for shipping rates to be finalized, unfortunately we don't get all shipping rates when we get the listing information. And so we can't, at this time, offer individual shipping rates per listing result. If you are looking at listings in the item browse section, though, like this view, if you click on the titles for these listings, it will take you to the original auction page where you can investigate more information. So it may state on the original auction page what kind of shipping services and what kind of shipping rates were available. But technically, shipping is one of those things where we cover to some degree, but we don't cover entirely. And that's just because of the availability of the data for the shipping rates.
Yeah, and it does make it tricky because different sellers offer different types of shipping all over the map. And the other question about it was, do you give information on whether listings with free shipping at fixed price bring more money?
So because we aren't capturing that information on a per listing basis, it's difficult for us to build a comparison around it. That's certainly a really interesting suggestion, though, and that's something that I would probably forward along to our product management to consider. That's always been an interesting topic, the way that shipping affects the total price, including the asking price. It's certainly something that's come up before, but like I said, there's a limit to how much information we're able to capture from eBay about shipping rates. So that's why we have to sort of make do with the average there, and to consider that detail when you're building your listing. It's certainly a very it's a recurring topic about pricing data.
Would you say that's an oft requested feature? Let me see if I understand it, because I have the same issue, because like 99% of my things I do free shipping on. So when I'm trying to compare, I'm trying to make sure I'm comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges, which makes it difficult. Are you saying that the data feed that eBay provides for Terapeak, or Terapeak purchases for whatever, the data feed you have does not include the information about whether an item is marked as free shipping or not, or does it contain that information and you're trying to figure out how to parse that and get that to us?
Actually, I'm not aware of whether or not at the data level, whether that detail is captured. We've never offered an analysis of what the shipping service is. So it wouldn't be safe for me to say that it's definitely not sent to us. It's not incorporated into our reports at this time, and it's not. We don't often sort of like not build functionality around like
you already have
information.
it.
So
well,
yeah. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
imagine we probably don't capture it, but I don't work closely enough with the information at a data level to say for sure that detail is not somewhere in there.
I will tell you that this group of people, our audience for the top rated seller webinars, are excellent to use as a focus group. So now you can go back and say, okay, here's what the latest focus group wants. They want to know if these items have free shipping or not. So we'll just throw that out there and hope that eventually will be coming. So right now, when we're looking at these and comparing, we have to use the average shipping price and figure that into the price that we're going to start our item at if we're going to use free shipping. And also, as you suggested, go deeper in and maybe open up a couple of these listings that look like the kind of listing we're going to use. And then you could see what they're offering and what they're not offering.
Yeah, that's a much better way to phrase it. Thank you for summarizing that for me. And
I'm good at dumbing down.
And I do love the idea of this group of people being included as like a focus group. So I'll certainly suggest that to our product manager. He's very much interested in how to engage people that use Terapeak in studying what's important to them and what's valuable to them and so on.
Well, awesome.
Well, the shipping costs, I mean, I can say pretty much across the board in any eBay-involved thing I've been, shipping costs is a big discussion because there's the push for free shipping, but sometimes if you include shipping in the price of your item, you end up pricing your item out of the range that it will sell at. And so knowing this whole shipping information is always very helpful to the sellers.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had personal experience with thinking that, if I offer free shipping, maybe people will bid just a bit more on my auctions, and it hasn't really worked out that way. And I've kind of been disappointed that from the shopper's perspective, they don't really necessarily see the value, the extra value in the free shipping sometimes. So it is certainly very challenging to manage that cost in the asking price of a listing. And it's tricky both ways. I'd imagine that trying to incorporate it into the price is definitely going to affect, your asking price and thus your placement in search results. So it's very tricky.
Absolutely. And I have come to know with my clients and friends and all of that it depends. I mean, that's my favorite answer, but it depends. And I wonder if in auctions, I found it not being such a factor as in fixed price. But I also wonder, since you said you're a Canadian seller, if it is less of an benefit since you're selling, cross-border mostly or whatever, versus myself that I'm selling internationally, but the majority of my customers now tend to be U.S. So I wonder how much that affects it. We could discuss this all day. We probably should move on.
Well, and I was just going to say that I find, and they're talking about it in the questions in the chats too, I find that with auctions now, I don't put free shipping on auctions because they're going to bid what they're going to bid, but I do put it on fixed price. It's just easier. It's that one number. But I think the expectation out there now with free shipping, especially with some of the big companies offering it, it's not seen as a value as much anymore because it is offered so across the board at so many places.
Yeah, shipping policies and shipping rates is very challenging. I don't know that I've really decided on what formula works best for my own practices. It's definitely something that I felt that I had to experiment a little bit more compared to some of the other aspects of listing, and it's definitely more of a trial and error experience for me.
Oh yes.
Getting the price right is definitely a trial and error, and it's sometimes, I think, easier with fixed price because you have the quantity and you're able to play with it more, especially if you're doing a commodity item as opposed to a one-of-a-kind.
And that's where the benefit of Terapeak comes in, because if I've got 15 pair of brown size 12 shoes, I can play around. I can price it here, price it there, see what works. If I have one vintage brown vase from the 1840s, I can't play around, but I can go to Terapeak and see what other people did with that vase. So, is it valuable for people like me that sell depth of inventory? Absolutely, because with Terapeak, I can follow the trends. Is my category getting hotter? Is it slowing down? What are my competition doing? I can check my biggest competitor. But also, if I'm a one-of-a-kind seller, Terapeak shines because I can't play around and try different things with my one item, but Terapeak can let me look as if I was playing around.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, see, I'm good at dumbing down. Next, Karen.
I wouldn't call it dumbing down. I would just say explaining it concisely. Much better phrasing, Kat.
Sounds much better.
Is it possible to analyze more than one different product at a time?
Well, it depends on what report you're using in Terapeak. I mean, if you're looking up a username, it's going to incorporate all of the listings for that user in that time frame. If you're running a product research report, you can use some fairly open-ended keywords. It's sort of, I guess I'd have to know more about what somebody's searching for, and then I could probably suggest the best way to try to capture as many variations of that product as possible. If your question is sort of more about, like, let's say you have a big long list of products you'd like to run research for all at once, at this time we don't support like a bulk upload option. Although if you're looking to follow quite a few products on an ongoing basis, we do have some time-saving options like Value Track, which is a report where you can establish your search criteria for a whole bunch of items, and it saves that and runs it every single week. And so you can keep tabs on, say, your 50 most popular products, or if you have a few products you've considered listing but the time's not right now, and you want to sort of keep an eye on the average price to see if it goes up or down. Value Track is really useful for that. You can also have Value Track email you the results on a weekly basis, so you don't even have to put in the effort to log into Terapeak and take a look at the report. You can just kind of keep an eye on your email to see if the time is right to list that unusual collectible you've got sitting in your inventory.
Oh, and I have to tell you too about the reports. My favorite report with Terapeak was my competition report, because I could find the biggest sellers in my categories, and I could ask Terapeak, could you keep an eye on these guys for me? And they will.
The next group of questions is basically about Terapeak itself. Terapeak searches used to give real-time updates to final sale prices while the status bar was moving. Any plans to put that back in?
I don't think we ever actually have had real-time data. I don't mean to contradict the person that asked that question, but we've always operated on a delay of a couple of days, because we have to arrange to have all of the sales information imported to our system from eBay, and we've never had like a real-time connection, although they might be thinking of eBay used to have a research program that was real-time, and it's not around anymore. So.
Excellent.
And then another question is from Vern from Vendio. How current is the Terapeak data feed?
We usually get the data within about 2 to 3 business days. It kind of depends on all sorts of factors, not all of which are directly in our control, but it's usually within about 2 to 3 days.
Okay. The next question is, how far back does it retrieve data? And another one is that you use 90 days of data. So you can address those together.
Sure. Sorry, what was the second part of the question? You cut out a little bit.
That you'd use it 90 days of data. You use 90 days of data.
So the listing information goes back 365 days, and that's a rolling period. So as we move forward a date, we lose a date in the past. The trend reports for the categories, that goes back 2 years, because that's based on category details instead of individual listings. And the search options go from 1 to 90 days for product searches, and then you can situate that 1 to 90 day time frame at any point in the last 365 days. So if you want 3 months worth of product search at the earliest possible date, so about a year ago from this month, that's available, and any time in between. And then with the category research, you can do trends that run from, I think, as little as a month up to 2 years at a time. So that's what the date range is like on that. And then the date ranges for some of the other reports, like our custom hot research, those are quite a bit more varied, because some of the algorithms we use, it's a bit more intensive, so we can't necessarily offer, say, hot research analysis over like 90 days. It's just too much information to try to compile. So.
Okay. The next questions are, is there a glossary defining the icons on the Terapeak page?
So I can assume that they mean that the results for format for the item browse page. We take those icons from eBay, if I remember correctly. So the door is the red door indicates a fixed price listing. It's what used to be used in listings on eBay that were store format. And then the BIN refers to buy it now. Those are also fixed price listings. And then I can't remember what our icon is for auctions. How embarrassing. This isn't. I'm not usually caught off guard about a question about Terapeak.
That's okay. It's part of the questions that came in about learning to use Terapeak. So there's a lot more questions that are all about that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they were talking about that or if they're talking about when you show the results page before you go into the items at the top, the different icons there.
Like the views and the key stats and the actions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those on that section.
So when you hover over top, I'm just going to back the slide up. When you hover your mouse over top of any of these icons in the actual web application, it should give you there's a little pop-up speech bubble that tells you what that icon is supposed to do. We can also provide explanations through our support team. In the past, we haven't necessarily done really big glossaries because they're kind of, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to browse through a big, long, manual for stuff. I kind of want information to be available right there in the tool. So that's the approach we've been taking with the current version of Terapeak, is to try to make all the help information, available right there so you don't have to go and look through a big, long manual, because believe me, the manual would be big. and I've tried to write a couple before on Terapeak, and they just get to be so huge I can't imagine anybody would want to read it. So.
And I think nowadays manuals are getting to be things of the past. I mean, you don't even get one with a computer anymore, and I remember the old days they used to be like 3 books worth.
Yeah, that drives me crazy about recent purchases I've made, that there's a lot of the time you have to go online to get the instruction manual, and it's just kind of assumed that you're going to interpret the interface of the product without any instruction, which works great for some things and not for others.
Exactly. My father's one that has to have the manual in his hand, and I had a friend who used to have them printed out when she had to get them offline, download them. Okay, 2 more questions about using Terapeak. Is there a tutorial? I can't speak for now. Is there a tutorial available once we buy? And do you have a list of videos on YouTube with learning how to use Terapeak most effectively? So they kind of go together.
Yeah, absolutely. Those actually kind of answer each other too. We have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Terapeak, and all of our videos are there. You can also visit, there's a resources page on our homepage, www.terapeak.com, and the resources page has links to each of the individual short tutorials on each tool, as well as we have some advanced training webinars that we've developed, which use this exact same webinar format. So it uses GoToTraining, and so it'll be familiar for people that participated today. Those are longer, more advanced training sessions. So discussion of strategies for building listings and finding other stuff to sell and things like that. A lot of which we covered today in this topic in a condensed form. But if you're interested in hearing my voice for several more hours, then you can definitely check out the advanced webinars. I helped record quite a few of them.
Excellent, excellent.
All right, and we have 2 last questions. One is, they were wondering how you came up with the name Terapeak.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting question. We were just having this discussion the other day. So Tera is meant to remind people of large data, because it refers to the term terabyte, so a lot of data. And the peak is meant to remind you of the peaks in a sales chart. So large data and graphs are basically what those two components refer to. But usually when I talk to people on the phone, they think we have something to do with mountain equipment because it sounds like the earth and it sounds like mountain climbing. So, so we've got that connotation in there somewhere else.
Climbing the mountain of eBay. There's a tagline for you.
Okay, there you go. To stay out of the valleys. The final two questions are, what is the cost of the lowest program offered, and what is your cost per year?
Sure. So Terapeak Domestic costs $29.95 US per month, and that gets you set up with access to all the data that we have for any individual eBay site. So if you want to research eBay.com or eBay Motors, our parts and accessories subscription is the same price for that. That's perfectly suitable for people that are shipping within their domestic market. If you're interested in the international program, there's an upgrade available for that. And the yearly plan is discounted compared to the monthly plan, and so our yearly rate is $269.95 US per year.
Great. And then what about the international thing? Like if I'm in USA, my domestic would be $29.95 or $269.95. And then if I wanted to add international, do I add it by country, or do I just say I want to add international?
Sure. So we incorporate all of the eBay sites as just one add-on. And so for just $20 more per month, you get access to data for eBay Canada, eBay Italy, eBay Germany, eBay France, eBay in the United Kingdom, eBay Australia. So I think there's 7 or 8 sites altogether that you get just for an extra $20.
And I think that just answered the last question that just popped in, which was, what is the upgrade cost? And I think we actually have covered all of the questions that have popped in. Can you think of anything else you'd like to ask, Kat?
No, I think I'm good. I think we kept them. We got them all in. That's great. We'll
We
let
did.
Matt and Ryan do their wrap up and say goodbye. And then if anybody has further questions, Karen and I will be over on the Facebook group for a few minutes, and we'll look for you there.
Sure. Well, I just want to thank everybody that participated today. We love interacting with other sellers, and we hope that what we told you about today will be helpful for your business. And if anybody wants to ask me more questions about their research, I'd love to hear from any of you. You can always contact our support team. You can always email me directly at matt@terapeak.com. There's 2 T's in my name, M-A-T-T.
I'm just very happy to have been invited to participate in this. I hope we were able to shed some light on how research can improve your business. And that's about it. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. It was great.
It was, and I can't believe we got all the questions. That's great. Okay, well, you just let us know when you need us to reconvene your focus group, okay, guys?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. We appreciate you very, very much. We'd love to have you join us in August. We are always open to your requests for topics. Right now, we have a topic we're working on in August that came from suggestions on the Facebook group. So if you have a topic as an eBay seller that you would like to learn more about, please feel free to send those. You can send those to kat@topratedsellerwebinars.com, or you can go to the Facebook group and leave them there. We exist to serve you guys, and we'd love to know what else we can do to make it better. Have a great week, and let's go